I've got a review for you guys of Gran Turismo 7. I can't believe I've been reviewing video games since before the first Gran Turismo. I still remember the first Gran Turismo hitting the PlayStation 1 and reviewing it with my buddy Tommy Tellerico, and both of us just, with our jaws on the floor like, wow, this is so realistic. And obviously Gran Turismo 7 is taking full advantage of the PlayStation 5. It's been a game long in development. There's been all kinds of, anticipation and speculation about this. There was an enormous state of play from PlayStation about 3 or 4 weeks ago, just sort of diving into all of the details with this gloriously beautiful game. It's a game that really kind of stretches out across a bunch of different directions, but at its core, this is a game that celebrates the cars, celebrates the sort of history of cars and all of these brands of cars. And this has been true for the Gran Turismo brand and the titles all the way along. But this is a game for those connoisseurs out there that would go to a car museum, that would like to know more about the ideas behind some of the engineering and the manufacturing of some of these vehicles and the history around some of these vehicles. You get all of that in this game. You also, and there's more than 400 cars that you can pick up as you work your way into it. It's a true car PG, and it's been another overwhelming experience on the tail end of Horizon Forbidden West and Elden Ring, and then I'm into this thing, and I just feel like, holy crap, I'm in front of the television just grinding away, trying to unlock everything. And of course, you're going to be going to world-famous tracks like Daytona. You're going to some, different ideas like the Tokyo Expressway, and you're going to be, racing in all kinds of vehicles. You'll have super-powered vehicles. You'll have like supercar-type vehicles. You'll have full-on racing vehicles. You'll have rally cars. This is a game that obviously also likes to celebrate its beauty with these incredible replay moments where everything is kind of tuned to the music that's supplied within this game, which is also incredibly diverse and elaborate, as much as this is a game filled with destinations for you to travel to and lots of cars to pick up. It's also got a ton of music, and so there's classical music, and there's kind of jazzy type music in this, lots of rock and roll and stuff. I'm really impressed. I don't love all of the music, let's be honest, but I am impressed by the diversity of it, and it's fun to kind of just, explore the world of Gran Turismo and hear all of these tracks. And it's not like leaning onto so much of a, licensed catalog. I'm sure there's some licensed stuff in there, but it does feel like a lot of content was made expressly for this game. And it's a wonderful collision of all of these different styles, and it's kind of a great analogy for the types of vehicles that you get to drive. But you cruise around the world, and each of these different destinations has different tracks that you can go to, and there's different layouts for the tracks, so you'll be racing around, rings and ovals and, much more challenging types of tracks with lots of chicanes. You'll be traveling and racing through traffic. And you're going to be in a fleet of different vehicles. There are also missions in the game, so you can go in and you'll be challenged. You'll be sort of mid-race, and you'll try to get to as far up the standings as you possibly can before everybody crosses the finish line, and you'll get bonus points and bonus credits for being first to cross the finish line. And of course, there are lots of other different ways for you to celebrate everything as well. You basically are spending a ton of time in this cafe where you go to. It's incredibly peaceful, and what happens is you get these objectives within the game where you, like in this case, I had to find these rally cars, which were unlocked by just completing some of the objectives. And then once I've picked up 3 on the menu, then we celebrate that, and they have these beautiful sort of vignettes where they show the vehicles in these gorgeous scenes. And you also get the ability to not only, see the Gran Turismo folks put all of this content together and celebrate your victory and talk to you about the history and show these cars from different angles and stuff. You can also go into an element called scapes, and you can actually tool around and position your vehicles. This is the Aston Martin DB5 right there, and the other 2 cars that are in the background are 2 from my library that I actually dropped into the background. and you can focus on any one of the vehicles. You can change the lighting. There's all kinds of different ways, and you can save that as well. And there's a bunch of different backgrounds which are kind of photographic and look either beautifully rendered at the highest resolution based on scan data or something, or they're actual photographs. But you're taking your in-game car assets and you're sticking them in, and you're seeing what all of these different lighting parameters and all of these different details. It sounds ridiculous that there is this much detail on this side piece of content for the game, because obviously this is it's a racing experience where you're trying to unlock all kinds of new vehicles. That's basically it, right? You get looped into racing to win the credits, to buy the vehicles at the different stores that you get, or you unlock them and you add them to your menu for the cafe, and then you go back and you get another objective that you have to go and complete, and you keep unlocking them, and you rise up the standings. There are also lessons, like there have been in lots of previous Gran Turismo games, where you get challenged with learning how to make the corner at the correct time. And you have to do these lessons over and over again until you complete them, and then you'll get your beginner's license, and then you get a level A license, and you'll just keep going up the standings, and all the while be handed faster and faster vehicles, which make turning much more difficult. And you can see there were many, many failures along my way, but here's the thing about this game, and why I think this is my favorite of all the Gran Turismo games. I mean, there's an element of surprise that can't be duplicated when I think back to the PlayStation 1 era, and that was the heyday, man. That was when Kazunori-san and the Polyphony team came out with the Gran Turismo idea and rocked the world, became one of the most successful brands and franchises in PlayStation history, and that's why he gets so much time, and his team gets so much time to craft these things. And you can tell, like, they travel around the world and they take photographs of everything, and they get into these vehicles and they do brand deals with these vehicles. There are special exclusive vehicles that are launched through Gran Turismo. It is an incredibly important property. But one of the things that has always been true with Gran Turismo is that it's been a game of navigating through menus and waiting for these massive tracks with all of their details to kind of load up. And I'll tell you what, on the PlayStation 5, that loading is, well, obviously much, much faster, and it's less of an ordeal to contend with at all. One of the things that's interesting about the setup with this game, of course, is that they have this cafe, and you have to keep going into it, and so you're constantly jumping into these menus and back out of these menus, and you're looking at all of the different data that's on screen in a regularly, and it's almost set up like a website. So there's this feeling like, yes, eventually this will go to PC for sure, but it loads really quickly, so that removes, comparatively to previous Gran Turismo games. It's not quite like the open world, like race everywhere you want to in Forza Horizon 5, and then you find everything. You're still jumping from destination to destination. You can see some of the load times right here, but it's much quicker, even if it is a little bit cumbersome, because there are multiple button presses that you have to press in order to get to where you want to go. And I found it a little bit frustrating that I couldn't change some of my car parameters before I left a screen. I had to go back to specific screens in order to change my tires or my engines and or my turbocharger or whatever, and then go back into the event that I wanted to race, and that got a little bit frustrating. But suffice to say, it's way faster to load, and there's just tremendous amounts of data coming into the hardware for you to be able to access these beautifully 3D generated environments and these racing experiences. So you've got that element, and then you've got the DualSense for the PlayStation 5, and the DualSense controller. This is the best experience I've had with the DualSense controller. You feel every bump and scrape along the road. You feel when you're shifting gears. You feel your engine throttling up. You feel the tarmac. If you're racing on a street, you can feel kind of the grooves on the road and the little the markers along the street, and you can feel like the tires racing against the asphalt, and it just feels incredible. You are super connected to the experience, and it's so thrilling to race like that. Like, you just get into it, and it's so addictive. You just feel like you are fully on the road in a much more palpable way than I've ever experienced in a Gran Turismo game before. And the one thing that I definitely can say about the Gran Turismo games is that they're a lot more austere and dry, a little bit antiseptic in a way, you could say, especially when you compare them to the crazy energy of the Forza Horizon series or Need for Speed or some of the stuff that Codemasters has been working on. Definitely Burnout. Like, there's lots of other good racing games out there, and Gran Turismo has always been this kind of study of racing history, and that can come off a little bit dry, and that's the case here. But I think it is these interesting elements all working together, and you not fighting with the hardware technology and being able to jump back and forth from all of these things. There's even this really cool kind of music rally that you can choose to play, which is a little bit like Outrun with music, where you're trying to hear these different tracks and race for as long as you can, and every checkpoint that you get to, more time gets added to the clock. Love that. I haven't played the multiplayer because I was playing pre-release code, and the servers go live in a couple of days, but I imagine it's going to be incredible. There's also a sport mode in there, and there's like the way that the content and the information is doled out to you as you play is incredibly addictive and incredibly inviting. It's the full package. It's also different from especially Forza Horizon, and we haven't got a motorsport game from Xbox on the current machine, so we haven't got that to compare it to right now. But it's definitely a lot different from the Forza Horizon experience and most of the other racers that we've got on this PS5, Xbox Series X kind of generation. I didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I did. I always find them to be a little bit dry, especially since the shock and awe of the original Gran Turismo games has long since worn off, and we've gotten lots of good ones along the way, but we've also had lots of really incredible competition out there. But this is an excellent PlayStation 5 game. Now, I haven't played it on the PlayStation 4, but I had so much fun playing this game, and I think it's just, it's obviously gorgeous. I mean, I'm not even talking about the visuals, but you can depend on these visuals and the details in the environments and the day-night cycle, the beautiful reflections. Of course, you've got a ray trace mode that you can race at, or the version of the game that will focus more on frame rates. But to be honest, I didn't really feel much of a difference. Unlike a lot of other games where you're kind of prioritizing ray tracing, when I jump back and forth between the 60 frames per second and I would imagine the 30 frames per second on ray tracing, I thought they both looked incredible. They look great, but I did notice a little bit more detail when the software was prioritizing the ray tracing, especially when I was racing around in the city streets. It was absolutely beautiful. It's gorgeous, and there's 3D positional audio in this thing as well, and I mentioned the music, but more than anything, it's the feel of the game and the addictive constant generation of challenge. Like, try this, try that, see if you can get to this, can you beat this time, can you augment your vehicles and then try that again, and go back and beat some of these tracks and some of these opponents that have been kicking your butt. It's a wonderful, wonderful game, and clearly made with so much attention to detail and so much passion. And talk about a studio that's been at it for a long time that has never stepped off the gas, never let their foot off the gas. They've always wanted to crush it. But I think longtime fans of this franchise are really going to love it. I also think that it's an excellent pickup for people that are kind of new to that idea, this kind of car sim, car PG. I think it is the easiest barrier to entry of the Gran Turismo games. I think a lot of attention was paid to making it feel incredibly accessible. And of course, you can race, the arcade mode of each track as well, and throw in any vehicles that you want. There are time trials that you can set up for yourself. You can customize the way you want to play the game, and you can customize the way that you fetishize the vehicles in this game. It's absolutely incredible, and there's just so much bloody content that you're going to be playing it. Once you put down Elden Ring and Horizon Forbidden West, you're going to be playing this for months and months and months. And then, of course, there'll be DLC and all kinds of other material. But I loved it. I don't love it. You know, if you're asking me if I like it more than Forza Horizon 5, which was a Game of the Year contender, no, I don't, because I loved the arcadiness and the silliness and the zaniness of Forza and the beauty of that game. But, you know, they're built differently. This is much more of it's almost like a classic traditional style video game, you know, where you're beating a level and then you're moving on to the next level. And Horizon is an open world game where you're just going in and exploring and trying out as many crazy things as the designers have put together for you. There's, you know, similarities in some ways in terms of visual fidelity and the way some of that cars handle and stuff like that. But, you know, you can't play Forza Horizon 5 on the PlayStation 5 or vice versa. So, yeah, I definitely think that this is a pickup for anybody that digs racing games out there. It's the best Gran Turismo I've played in many a year. I'm going to give Gran Turismo 7 a 9 out of 10.